Organizational buy-in is one of those topics that I think a lot of marketers just really beat their heads against the wall with, trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do we get this change? How do I get upper management to realize that we need to make a different direction? We need to do things differently. We need to bring in some more digital strategies. Well, you are in luck today, because for today's episode, we have Malika Waller here from Landis+Gyr, who's going to walk us through some amazing tips on how to just do that. She's done it, she's lived it, and she's going to share this golden nuggets of wisdom with you for today. So we are in the Optum Production Studio, and I'm Danny Gonzalez, and this is IndustrialSage. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Malika, thanks so much for joining us. Before we get going onto this, could you please just tell me a little bit about yourself and about Landis+Gyr, just so we can get ourselves familiarized with you and everything.
Awesome. Yes, my name is Malika Waller, and I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I graduated from the University of Maryland, so I studied marketing and logistics of all things. Okay. Awesome. And I started marketing about 7 years ago, and I've been working at Landis+Gyr for about the last 2 years. Awesome. Landis+Gyr, if you're not familiar, is in the utility space. So we enable utilities to have knowledge at the edge of the grid. So that means the meters on your home, working with that. So we're enabling the smart grid of the future. So right now, utilities are in this interesting place where things like solar and energy is coming back onto the grid, and then the infrastructure was never set up for that. So we're helping them, manage the grid so there's no brownouts and blackouts, hopefully not, and making sure that they have the technology, the meters themselves, and software and everything that would create a whole solution for them. So we're really future forward and future proofing the grid for them.
Awesome, that's interesting. Yeah, it's funny they mentioned that the infrastructure wasn't there necessarily originally to be able to, having power generation being pushed back in. It was more like we're taking it in this way.
Yeah, so. I thought that was really fascinating too. I was like, oh yeah, it was set up for one way, not two way.
Well, speaking of being maybe set up for maybe a specific different way, has Landis+Gyr in the past, had they typically had some sort of digital marketing strategy where, how were they set up?
So marketing team-wise, it was, you could say siloed, so very much set up by product, and each product marketer was in charge of kind of the whole campaign flow and marketing of a product. Okay. Yeah. So now the team has kind of shifted and changed based on skill set and need and strategy. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of that now focuses on skill set of like PR, digital marketing like myself, events, stuff like that. So we're kind of like a catch-all for all the products now. So merging different silos together. And I'll say initially there really wasn't a digital strategy. It was, we need to be in the digital space. We need a website. We know that there are components that are out there in the digital world, but we're not experts in it, and we don't have the expertise on our team. That was part of the reason I was brought in 2 years ago. And I started as the digital marketing and design specialist. Okay. Yeah. So mainly brought me in to kind of work with our agencies, kind of finesse some of the stuff that we're doing, and just kind of understand what the agencies are saying. So, gotcha. They're giving feedback, they're giving suggestions, and, speaking a different language that everyone's kind of like, okay, what does that mean? Right. So translating a little bit. What does that actually do for us? And is it the right thing that we should be doing? So the next move was to bring in somebody to really focus in on that. And so that's where I came in. My role morphed a lot. I think because of some of the skills that I brought to the table, but also showing the value of digital marketing and where that's kind of going. Yeah. The utility space is a very aging space. A lot of people have been there their whole careers, their whole lives. Yeah. It's one of those, if you've been there 10 years, you're still new kind of things, especially the utility side. So our business kind of mirrors that as well. Gotcha. Yeah. And we're coming to a point where there's aging workforce, and a lot of people with all that knowledge set are leaving.
Yeah.
And similar with digital, nobody had the skills, and now there's people in the utilities that have those digital skills. They know how to use the internet very well.
Yeah.
Not that older people don't, but but the way they interact with digital is different than in the past, which would have been like traditional media.
Exactly.
Print, the heavy emphasis on events, and the shift from talking to who you know versus kind of doing research on your own. A lot of that's come to the utility side as well. So we need to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. So just a totally different shift in the buying cycle and the buying process, and how people really consume information, and that has totally changed. So when you mentioned when you first came on, you were kind of that liaison maybe between the agencies and internally, maybe translating some of that information. What were some of the different maybe tactics that you guys were using then, and talk to me a little about like what you were using then, and then how you kind of made that transition? Like, was there an aha moment, or what happened?
So
there?
a lot of the ahas for me that I kind of brought to the table was using our data differently.
Okay.
We had a website, we had emails going out, not a strong nurture presence, so we weren't really segmenting or looking at the data we were getting from people who were engaging with us, and what people were doing on the website, not really paying attention too much there. A lot of our focus has been brand awareness, and what I'm trying to bring to the table is looking at that data and saying, how can we make our messaging more impactful where it needs to be to the right people that are looking for it. Something that we're doing, like I said, we're kind of enabling that smart grid, and it's a new territory.
Sure.
We're kind of looked at as just a metering manufacturing company, and we do way more than that.
Yeah.
So getting that message out has been such a shift in what we're traditionally doing that we need a place to do that, and digital is that place to do it. So understanding kind of who's already engaging with us and what they're engaging with, which at the time was a lot of metering stuff. Looking at our only metering products and not our network solutions, and all the things that we bring to enable utilities to do the further technology that they need. So we needed to shift that messaging, and it's really hard to do it if nobody's picking up magazines.
A little bit, yeah.
If
and that's where you are.
If you're only able to speak to them at events, or we do a lot of sales presentations, but if somebody's already starting that journey of looking for something, and we can actually be there as a source, not only is that brand awareness, but we're actually engaging them, and they're looking at Landis+Gyr as, oh yeah, they do that too.
Right. At the right time.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So right messaging at the right time.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So maybe talk to me a little bit about, this challenge of that organizational buy-in. So, okay, you came in, you said, all right, we need to be looking at things a little bit differently. We need to be looking at our data, and let's getting some feedback there, and maybe we need to be transitioning a little bit more, in a little bit more digital marketing. How did you start to make that approach and start to build that case?
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
When I walked in the door, I said, we're doing digital.
And then you snapped your fingers, and then it all happened.
Yes, it happens overnight.
Okay.
No, it doesn't happen overnight at all. It takes a lot of education. A lot of people know what digital is. A lot of people, everybody has a smartphone. You're in touch with the digital world pretty much all the time.
Right.
And so people think that they know all that digital can do or provide, but they don't, and you'll fall back on what you know, which is definitely more traditional marketing tactics.
Sure.
And so education of the landscape of what digital marketing is. There's I'm sure you've seen it, the Chief MarTech marketing landscape that showed the, exponential growth of marketing technology.
Yes.
Showing that graphic to my CEO and to the upper management, that was something that they never even thought of. And it kind of mirrors what's going on in our industry. I mean, our industry's not as rapidly
but
exponential of businesses coming onto the scene, but going from, a couple players to many smaller players doing different things, it resonated with them. So educating people on what digital is in the context of the business and why that would resonate or why that would be important to them was really important. That was number one. So the second thing I would do was I was the evangelist. If I could talk about digital marketing, I would.
You were all about it.
Yeah, if I could get on the agenda to even have 5 minutes to say, well, this is what we should be doing in digital, I took the opportunity to do it. And I made sure that it was audience appropriate and not, I can get really into the weeds on what digital can provide. So making sure it's audience appropriate, but any chance I could get to talk about it or maybe next things that are coming up or trends or, planting those seeds of digital is doing this and digital is doing that. And the next things that we could do in the digital realm was something I was very heavily looking at to do. So any opportunity I could see fitting that in, I would do that.
So you brought you were selling it well, right? And so you had that sort of that sales mentality, and then I guess one good word that comes to my mind is intentionality. So you're very intentional about it, and I think that's fantastic. And then a note on the MarTech stack when you're talking about. So if any of our viewers aren't familiar with that, it's that there's a great infographic. You can find it all over the place, but they talk about just there's a thing called the Googles, and you can find these. But it basically talks about all the different marketing technology, the rapid growth from 2000 and I don't know, like within 5 years, it's gone from there were a couple different things to now there's over 5,000. Different types of marketing technology.
Logos are way smaller.
Exactly. You have to use that magnifying glass to be able to see what they are. But just a great illustration just in terms of where things are going and how rapidly they are changing. It's growing exponentially to your point. So.
And the skill set needed to manage all those emerging technologies and integrate them across your campaigns, that's something that you have to take into account. So you can show that and you can let them know, hey, we're at this little chunk and it's going to keep growing. And that and that's also part of the educational part, letting them know where we are today. And even if we make a little bit of strides, we won't be so far behind when we turn around tomorrow and our competitors are doing something, in this new space and we have to catch up. So you definitely want to keep trying to move forward. And especially in B2B, it's already trailing consumer technology or consumer B2C selling habits. So you have to take into account that everyone at the end of the day is a person at the end of it, even in the business, and you're going to have to develop your strategies to adapt to people's interaction with things and their comfort level and how that keeps growing with digital. And if you're not there, how you'll look, right? You won't look innovative. You won't look on top of what's going on, or even if your business is still thriving. If you aren't updating your website, if you aren't, showing up in Google searches, people may not know that you're even open.
Exactly. No, it's very true. Very true. So, like those 2 points really, education and really just evangelizing, just big time, right? So, all right. So you're doing that. What's next? So, I guess at a certain point they say, hey, maybe there's something to this. Let's try X, Y, Z, or we're going to give you a little budget what happened there?
So getting budget, right? So that's my
the
fourth
part,
thing.
Right?
Give me all the money. Marketing, it has a magnifying glass on it. We're cost centers. We spend. And so getting the money, you really need advocates in the room. You need somebody, because I can't be in every meeting. I can't be there educating everybody all the time. I do have to show results. But if you have an advocate to kind of speak on your behalf in those meetings, getting budget is a little bit easier because they'll start seeing the value. And, if 10 people are saying, yeah, we should look into this digital thing, let's give some money towards, investigating what we could do. then it's a little bit easier. But also celebrating and showing success. So a lot of times, even I get kind of like the next thing.
Right.
If you don't stop and celebrate little wins and show that there's improvement, or we're showing up on Google, or our traffic is up, and those little wins, if you don't show them, nobody will know about them.
It's true.
And you'll keep moving forward, and it's really about showing those results, because again, back to the educational part, if you're not really setting the expectations, a lot of people think, well, it's digital, it's fast.
You're right, yeah.
I should see results next week.
Exactly, right, yeah.
And that's not the case. There is definitely a long life cycle of what digital can bring when those results start coming in. 6 months out from when you start something is typical. You can start benchmarking from there. Definitely not overnight, 2 months, a week. You might see some improvement, but really what you want to be working towards is longevity and building upon whatever you're doing. And so you have to set those expectations and educate people on why it's that way. And then, but again, celebrating it. Again, when you have those opportunities, if you can, go in meetings and talk to people, letting them know, our social media is up, our website visits are up, our conversions are up. Whatever the success measure is there, you can maybe talk to one KPI or a time, but talking about it when it happens is really important. And then people will want to keep fostering that and letting you kind of still work in new things or try new things to see down the line where that gets us.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then at what point did Landis+Gyr just kind of say, you know what, let's go all in on this, or let's just really like dive in? What was that? I'm assuming there was a critical point that they hit and they said, okay, Malika's definitely onto something, and I think we need to put some more resources to it. Yeah,
it was kind of bubbling, right? There's a need for it when you want to have traffic, when you're talking to prospective clients and you want to send them to like a nice website and all of that that works, or that people can find things, and there was definitely this frustration brewing, even internally, of just finding things on our website, finding us listed with press releases, all the good things that we're doing as a business, just wasn't showing up in the places that we really wanted it to. And that's where digital can, get a lot of bang for your buck in bringing the attention where you want it to go. So that was part of it. And I think I was talking about data before. Bringing in tools to look at that data, a lot of how we were writing things was very internal speak. And so finding a tool that could help us say, what are people actually searching for in our industry? And how are they searching for that? What language? I mean, English language, but kind of words are they using when they're searching for, distributed energy resources? Are they looking for the whole word, or are they looking for DER? And a lot of things that we were writing were very inside technical engineering speak, and not, I have a question and I'm searching for an answer.
Right. That's great. How did you guys find that information?
So we definitely looked into a tool. Bright Edge is what we use right now. So it's a big aggregate of search information out there, and we can really dive in really granular to specific pages or specific websites that we want to see how they're doing or how we're competing against them, with recommendations on what we can do. So it kind of tripled, quadrupled, the amount of me's that were there.
Which is great.
We say we acquired more arms and legs without actually bringing a body in with tools like that. So investigating tools that will work for what you're trying to do, and data is a big thing for me that we didn't have access to. And so that, we use things like HubSpot. We use different emailing programs. We work with agencies. So there's a lot of moving parts to bring that all together, and to have another tool that can do a lot of the administrative gathering of information for me to just look at and and analyze quickly was really important. So talking about tools like that, of just what do I need to actually be successful, was really important part of the conversation.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So maybe we back up a second. I was curious, I meant to ask you this before, but what was that first toe dipping exercise that you did to be able to get results? What did that look like?
To get results in our campaigns, or
when you were,
or results and buy-in.
Yeah, in terms of results and buy-in, but what were those first initial marketing tactics or those what did you do to say, okay, we've got a little bit of buy-in, got a little bit of budget.
Yeah.
All right, now we're off to the races.
So some of the stuff was a lot around piggybacking off of traditional things that we've been doing. So introducing some landing pages for our events.
Okay.
So how do I incorporate digital into things that we're already doing?
Perfect.
We were going to events, but we were not giving follow-up places for them to go. So, giving them actionable things after a show to come back to, which seems very simple, but gathering materials and making the messaging appropriate and desirable to come back to.
Right.
That getting all of that together and showing, okay, you can do this in a digital world. You don't have to send out another piece of collateral or meet them face to face. You can do that in addition to.
Yeah.
But immediate, when somebody is up thinking about something at 10 o'clock at night when they can't call, or you can't see them, having a place for them to go that is really speaking to whatever they were looking for was part of that initial success, and showing, okay, you could piggyback on something and see results. So upticks in traffic, and people knowing where different collateral was, even the salespeople being able to say, hey, you can go to this page
this is awesome.
for something specific related to what I'm talking about, was really helpful.
Excellent. So, I love that example. That's great, because you're talking, it wasn't like, we're going to completely go in this whole new direction over here. We're just going to shift and, trailblaze this thing that everyone's like, I love it.
Hard.
Yeah. But really working with what you have, said, let's how can we make this better?
Yeah.
And then definitely from a digital perspective. And then, what were some of the results? Like, what were I imagine you said, celebrate, look at the results. What were some of the celebrations that you had that you said, okay, what do they look like? Yeah,
so, celebration came in the form of putting on a monthly meeting of saying, here's where our traffic is, here's how our followers are going. I put that on the calendar. I said, hey, we need to talk about digital regularly. And so bringing that into, we live and die by PowerPoint at my company. So making sure you have a PowerPoint ready to go to highlight those things, and let them know what those impacts are to them. That's a form of celebration. I didn't throw a party with balloons or anything.
No, but it's great. There's actually a great key thing that I just popped in my head what you just said, is that you said earlier on that it's really important to be able to really speak in the language of your customer, right? So making sure that it's not too internally focused and whatever they're searching for, that we want to make sure that we're speaking in that language. But in the same sense, though, too, by doing these reports and so, you said your organization is very PowerPoint heavy. Same thing there, internally making sure that you are speaking in the language.
Yeah,
I love that. That's great.
That's really important, especially to get that buy-in. If you are talking apples and they want oranges, you're never gonna be getting the same thing you want out of each other. And it's definitely mutually beneficial, one for the business to invest in digital, but it's also beneficial for me because then I get to do the fun things in digital that I want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. Let's talk about sort of that was sort of initially you were making some of those changes to maybe what are some of the things now that from a digital standpoint, obviously you guys are doing a little bit more now than you were, probably doing a little bit more than just landing pages for events and things like that.
We've definitely grown our social media, search engine marketing. So focusing on that. So now we're trying to do more of that outreach part of it, and getting our brand out there for things that typically aren't associated with our business. Again, we're not just metering, so we have to be where software people are, where which is in Google, the world of Google, and not on that second page of Google, which is where
which is no man's land.
I mean, it's just crazy out there past page 1, and that's where we sit. There's a lot of things ahead of our content and changing what we're doing on the website and increasing some of our paid advertisement positioning and ads there has really helped kind of slowly move us up. And like I said, changing the language is huge. I mean, Google is crawling sites, and it's only going to pull in what seems relevant, and it's not really a human behind there, so it's just going to look for those same words contextually. But being there and having those words on our page and paying attention to that has really garnered success in moving up. So not just focus on brand terms, because if we type in Landis+Gyr, we're going to come up first, hopefully, most of the time. And but when you type in things like a smart meter or smart meter technology or grid analytics, we want to be there. And some of those words are kind of huge umbrellas of it could be different types, especially when you're talking about analytics. That could be, medical. It could be any industry that has analytics. But how do we start showing up there? And what content do we need to provide for that? So it's a content play, which marries so well with digital, and the fact that you can change it, we can refine it, we can continuously improve everything that we're doing and see those impacts along the way.
Oh, that's awesome. So one other question I wanted to ask, and this was about Landis+Gyr, maybe we should have asked this earlier on, but it totally slipped my mind. Does Landis, they primarily deal with distributors, or they sell directly to end users? Is it a mixture? What's that look like?
So our customer are the utilities themselves, and then we do have distribution partners. But we are not the end consumer, so I would never sell you a meter directly. But we would sell to people like Georgia Power. So that's kind of where we play.
Excellent. And how does that alter some of the, obviously depending on if you're going through, you've got channel partners, working through distributors versus selling directly to the utilities or the Georgia Powers or Southern companies of the world. From a digital marketing standpoint, maybe briefly touch on that. What does that look like for you guys?
So let me see how I phrase this. Definitely want to be thought leaders. So again, like at the end of the day, there's a person there, and the things that we talk about, there is a lot of engineering, high-level thinking going on.
A little bit,
and so some consumers are just not aware of the language. So there's that part. But speaking to our customers, definitely talking about the benefits and what that does for their business, that's usually where the focus is. And really sharing our vision of how we see that going. A lot of utilities right now, especially different energy climates right now, I won't get into all of that, but they don't know what to do next, and they want to make the right investment. And Landis+Gyr is very interoperable and very future-proof. So we make it so that you really can't make a bad decision, and you're not wed to us forever, although we want you to be our customer for life. You aren't. And so as technology changes and grows, we're growing along with that. But we understand, maybe down the line, there's something that you want to add onto your system. We can pair with that. That we make our technology in that way. with open standards. So we talk a lot in those terms for utilities and our end customer of what that would mean for you,
Sure.
and the benefit of working with a partner like Landis+Gyr.
Great. No, Malika, this has been great. It's been really fantastic. So I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is, but what would you do? No, don't be too worried. Maybe a little, just a little. No, I'm just playing. It's very simple. What do you tell that person who's watching or listening right now, who's saying, "Gosh, my company, we need to make this transition, but I'm really struggling with how to do that"? You touched on it.
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot. What advice do you give?
So again, those 4 main things: education, educate yourself, educate your company on what digital is. Be the evangelist. Definitely, anytime, anywhere you can talk about it, talk about it. Mm-hmm. Gain some advocates. So there's going to be people shaking their head. Yes, I understand. I like that. Get them on board. Hopefully they're higher than you as well, if depending on where you are in the organization. But get your level and above shaking their heads at, yes, digital is something that we need to do, and get them talking about it on your behalf as well. And celebrate. Celebrate whatever little success, big success, but take time to celebrate it and show results.
Yeah.
That's going to be a main driver of getting more people engaged and excited about digital marketing.
That's awesome. No, it's perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been fantastic. Definitely learned a lot. And so if anybody have any questions for you, where might they be able to reach you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Malika Did It, Malika
Put that up there.
Didit. So you can ask me questions there. Find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So, so again, another really great episode here. So really getting that organizational buy-in is definitely a big challenge. Like Malika was talking about, take those 4 steps, those pieces of advice. If you're sitting there saying, gosh, we really need to figure this out. How do we do this? What do we do? Really, education, really talk about it. Really educate yourself, help to educate your company. And then evangelize, keep talking about it, get really excited about it, talk about all the different amazing things that you can do with it. And then start getting those internal champions, other people to be able to help, to be able to sort of sponsor you, be able to help talk it up and work with you. And then once you're able to start making some inroads and start doing a few things, really celebrate with those results. I love that. Celebrating, and then showing those results, showing back that value, and doing those things really help. It's not going to happen overnight, but it'll help to really course correct and really start moving that boat just a little bit, so you can really get those results you're after. So, thanks again so much for watching our episode, Malika. Again, thanks so much for coming on an IndustrialSage, and as always, please be sure to share, like, subscribe, all the good things. If you're on iTunes, we'd love a review. If you are watching these on the website, please subscribe, get those email alerts, share it with your friends, colleagues, and assorted relatives. And until next time, thanks so much. I'm Danny Gonzalez, and this is IndustrialSage.